I live in a country full of women that tells me I'm not needed, but yet still wishes for me to protect them. If the country was invaded from other men, these women would not scout for other women to protect them from the invasion. They will look for someone like me, a man, and yet still proclaim that I'm not needed. How naive can a person truly be? As a man, I can never be ashamed to tell you as a woman that I need you. You are needed. I want to have beautiful babies one day. I need you for that. If I can have a man's heart to stand in front of you, on the front lines to protect you, then why can't you have a woman's heart to stand behind me and watch my back?
Truth, man. What can you say? You know, I've been thinking about this lately. How and why did we end up where we ended up as people? Like, why are men and women fighting so much amongst one another? Like, who stands to benefit? We're more disconnected than we've ever been. People feel so lonely today, men and women, individually. We've lost big friend groups. We've lost brotherhoods. We've lost sisterhoods. I don't know, man. Like, we're being conditioned. It's almost like this tinfoil hat. Society today is dominated by consumerism. And how do you extract maximum value out of a human being? Is you get them addicted to material things. So consumerism and materialism have combined to make like the perfect storm for a corporation to enslave people and extract maximum value out of them. So now with the advent of social media, they essentially have us fully enslaved mind and body. I mean, look at the state society is in, man. You go to work for a job that doesn't make ends meet. You're forced to probably get a second one. You're falling behind the socioeconomic ladder compared to generations past. Dating is now in shambles. People are being taught that deep, genuine connections don't matter. And then that's evil, right? That's the patriarchy. That's the traditional style, traditional society that suppress women. So we've hypersexualized women. We've desensitized men through porn. We no longer value our bodies, men and women. We're taught through social media and the culture in general that what should make you happy is things, possessions. Until you acquire multiple cars, until you have boats, until you have money to flash, that you won't be happy. And as a woman, you're taught that you're never going to be happy until you do either two things. Beat a man at his own game, which is working in the corporate life, having your own corner office, name on the wall kind of deal, right? Which we all know where that ends up with women 30, 40 plus having to freeze their eggs, contemplating whether they made the correct decision in life or not. And almost always they tell you it was not the right decision because they're going to end up on a bed, 9 years old, however long they live. And that plaque on the wall isn't going to be there to comfort you in your last moments, like your family would, a legacy, your grandkids, your children. And the other hook for a woman's psychology is she's taught that her value is based on the things that she owns, like that purse makes her a high value woman, because all she sees on Instagram and social media is that all the prettiest girls, all the most beautiful women, all of them living the dream life of being flown out, this and that lifestyle, has the nice jewelry, has the nice purses, has the men with a ton of money. So now women are equating their happiness with that very narrow lifestyle. It's a joke, man. People have lost touch with what really matters. We're living so unnatural today. It's like, it's so easy to find happiness as a person when you start to internalize, some key concepts in your mind, like things don't define you. Simple pleasures like walking barefoot, going hiking, feeling the sun on your skin, the wind in your hair, little things like this that activate all the senses in your body. is an incredible way to reset from like this toxic grind of modernity. I use that personally. I go out in nature and walk barefoot, go swimming in creeks, lakes, go hiking up mountains. It's the only way to stay sane in the world today. And funny enough, man thinks that he can replace that ancestral need, right? That we all have. We're essentially trying to divorce ourselves from our primal necessity. Like instead of the sun, we have lights, a light bulb. Instead of wind, we use an air conditioner. It's super unnatural. We've tried to synthesize nature at the detriment of human health, man. And you see the further and further we go away from living an active lifestyle outdoors, because now everybody's enslaved by tablets, by screens, their phones. I mean, think about it. When did mental health truly start exploding? When did mental illness truly start exploding in society? It was roughly around the advent of the cell phone being miniaturized in your hand with the power of a computer, no? I mean, the internet was the first workings, but it wasn't adopted like it was today. Now with the access to cell phones, smartphones, tablets, and they've become so cheap that little children, I'm talking about babies, toddlers, are now navigating around tablets, playing games, melting their brains. Isn't it weird how mental health has now exploded alongside this like technological advance? Is that a coincidence? I don't really think so. We're being indoctrinated and conditioned like every single day, every minute of every hour when you open up your phone screen. I mean, just open up Instagram right now. Any social media, if you have it, in your timeline is literally you being sold something. And people don't realize that anymore. Like we used to have ads on TV and we knew when they were ads, they had to legally show this is an ad and it would then play. And people would just tune it out. Now you're being shown ads nonstop without even knowing. They're being implemented in the most subtle ways that you think it's part of reality, man. Like you're not being sold that product. And so when you take a bunch of this into account, just how unnatural we're living, how corporations have figured out with a bunch of eggheads doing focus studies on how to get you chemically dependent on this bad food, how to get you addicted to wanting this purse, how to sell you, like they have to convince you that their product has some sort of value in your life and that you have to acquire it to essentially feel better about yourself. They attack your self-esteem. Women are the most prone to this because of their social nature. So we're watching women in society before our very eyes being enslaved by this unnatural way of thinking. And it's like, how do you stop people from fighting back? How do you make sure you hold your grip on power? Is divide the people down into the smallest thing possible. So I think at the fundamental level, that would be men versus women, right? If you could destroy men and women, then they can't combine to create households, which then bear children, which spurs people to make sure the system works well for their future offspring. So now you have these people that are disconnected, men and women going at each other's throats, and then you essentially like finalize your grip on. I mean, look what's going on in culture. I hate to even bring this up because it's so politically charged, but for what? The mere question of what is a woman, like the gender bending going on in society today, dude, we are all going off a deep end. Now we're dividing each other up into small sections within, like intersex now. And it's like, how do you expect people to come together to see their neighbor as a friend, to want to create a better community for all, when it feels like the person across the street is your enemy? I mean, we're being taught to see each other as enemies, man. I think the message for men is, I've been thinking about this too, is like when it's in regards to dating and relationships, I think the best chance for men today is honestly when you vet a woman, you just have to see how awake she is. I don't even want to use the word woke because it's been so tainted by obviously a certain crowd on the political spectrum. But if you can somehow meet a woman that's awake, that understands the system is designed to divide us, and she hasn't fallen into the trap of being a slave to purses and shoes and essentially the Sex in the City lifestyle, because all of this, the culture, it's being pushed on us. Like Hollywood pushes a narrative on us, men and women. For men, it's emasculating us. We're seeing we call them simps, we call them betas, we call them effeminate. All you need to know is that when you look around society today, there's hardly any men anymore. There's a lot of males walk around, hardly any men. That's the message on the men's side. And on the women's side, it's like hyper-masculinization, hyper-sexualization, enslavement through material things, looking to men as walking wallets, just a commodity. Hey, here's my husband. He makes this much. You go, girl, divorce him, take his stuff. Like, we're not seen as people anymore to one another. Men are viewing women as just like a sex object because the way they have hypersexualized themselves and the addictions that we have in the male space with porn. It's super detrimental on how we view women. And so if you can find a woman that understands all this, that is grounded with herself, that has a strong father figure that taught her to be outdoorsy, that taught her to work, with her hands a little bit. I know this sounds super strange, dude. I know all you see on social media is like these toxic princess types that feel entitled to a man's wallet and everything needs to be handed to them from the world. Like, I understand it's a weird thing, especially for the young men, to conceptualize that there are women out there, dude, that are not poisoned by this ideology, by the modernity of society. There are people out there still, men and women, that still understand the principles of men and women and how to cohabitate. More and more of us are being enslaved, especially the younger generations. Less and less of them even know it's happening. I mean, the system's getting smarter and smarter at keeping people drip fed this sort of heroin, this social and cultural heroin that people just can't awake from, dude. I think this is why red pill movement is spreading like wildfire. This is why it's come on into the mainstream. I mean, it makes perfect sense because we're all essentially asleep and we know there's something wrong, but we're walking around in society being told that this is the way things are. This is the way things should be. And if you have any sort of internal friction about why you're unhappy with your life, why is it that people seem so disconnected and broken, why you don't want to participate in the system at all, then you're the crazy one and you get outcasted. Yeah, you almost have to cast aside dating culture. I mean, it's stupid to keep harping on focus on yourself, do this, then you'll get a woman, blah. But it's like, we're living in those pods, dude, in the Matrix. You're just like being used instead of a battery as an energy source for robots. It's just you're a walking wallet and your mind's getting hacked so that they can extract maximum dollars from you. Instead of energy, it's money. Anywho, let's go on to the next one. Fucking A.
I leaned in. I girl bossed. I built 2 successful companies, but I also didn't date. And now I'm 36 with no kids, trying to figure out how to live with someone. And now my best advice is to lean out. I leaned in. I girl bossed.
See, Gen Z, stop, ladies. Working so hard, she says. And then, well, let's look at the comment sections first. We have Tina there. She's not awoke yet. Look at her. This is extremely poor advice. Do what you want. Both can make you feel fulfilled. Serious question. How come career success doesn't always or more often translate into romantic relationship success? We already know why. Women seek men that are above them. She started 2 businesses. She's a successful woman. She demands a man that has just as much as her, if not more. That man is also working hard and does not have time. Like, it's a time issue, man. To be a business person is a huge investment in your time day to day. You can't have 2 people because the relationship will end up being, there's going to end up being friction in the relationship from both of you working so many hours, hardly seeing each other. That's why if you have a successful woman like this, she's going to often need to find a sort of beta male stay-at-home husband that takes on the supportive role. Otherwise, it can't work. Not in a fulfilling way. I'm sure you could cobble together some relationship where you're both unhappy, but more often than not, it's going to turn out the way it did for her. 36 and single, no kids, learning how to communicate with men. As the saying goes, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I don't want to lean in, I want to lie down. Queen, there are people who don't girl boss and dated the entire time and just ended up with trauma. The money was the move. Married my wife when she was 36 and now we have 3 kids. That gives her hope. Your career doesn't have a fertility window. Pressuring women to settle down and have kids before 35 is the same toxic capitalism as lean in and girl boss. It adds the same amount of pressure. And her response is super real. Totally hear you on that. I just have friends who are older. They got the harder time they had getting pregnant, having miscarriages, etc. Part of the reason why men go after younger women, it's a health issue for starting a family. Older men always seek younger women. It's a fertility thing. This is what men, body language wise, find attractive on women. You know, big hips, ass, slender waist, all that. It's just a signal for how fertile a woman is and how, healthy a baby she can have. 36 years old, because you decided to be a girl boss, doesn't exactly scream fertile.